rooting for you.
It's for them, it's for me.
Okay,
The
wherever.
people demand it. Why deny?
Morning, everybody.
All right, good morning, folks, and this is Million Cups, and you know what to do. Point your phone at this now that doesn't have two black lines through it, and check in. This helps folks at 1 Million Cups at the Kauffman Foundation. It lets us know how active we are, how many people we have here. But from your perspective, if you check in 3 times, you get a pen, and check in 6 times, you get a notebook. So there's something in it for you besides keeping the data at the Kauffman Foundation up to date.
3 times in one day?
No. Nice try, though. No. Once a day. That's your quota. It's kind of like the blood bank, you know, that way. All right. So what's our mission? Our mission is to lower the barrier of entry for entrepreneurs to education, resources, and connections that they need to further their entrepreneurial journey. Anyone who's been part of an entrepreneurial journey knows that it is fraught with peril. There are pitfalls and hurdles and things that you never imagined when you dreamed this up and quit your day job. So you're going to need some help. You're going to need some help. And that help comes from talking to people on a regular basis, from listening to other people solve their problems, and from talking in the community beyond 1 Million Cups. All right. So how do we achieve that mission? We have a program from the Kauffman Foundation that shows us how to facilitate these things. They have they support us through a website that makes it possible to organize this, and they coach the organizers in how to coach presenters to get a uniform framework for 1 Million Cups that's different from your average presentation for money. Okay. There are also unique aspects to every community in which 1 Million Cups operates, and it's almost 200 communities where there's a 1 Million Cups chapter. Of course, every chapter takes advantage of local resources, and everybody's different, and we all have our own strengths and weaknesses. We have the advantage of having no competition in New Mexico. We're the only chapter in New Mexico. There are other chapters scattered throughout the Southwest. I encourage you, if you're on the road and you happen to be out of town on a Wednesday morning, drop in one of those places. You'll find you don't know any of the people, but you'll find the format, the questions, the presentations very familiar. Okay, so what is that purpose here? The purpose is presentations, not pitches. So in a pitch, you're there for money mostly, or to build your team with people who have expertise that's above and beyond what your company currently needs. So your company is flawless. You have everything you need except maybe money or the talent that you're pitching to. And if everything works perfectly, you're going to ring the opening bell at the NASDAQ in a year. Okay, that's just not going to happen, right? It's not going to happen. And it's safe here to say that, right? For your company, you're not going to have an IPO. All right. So like there are going to be other challenges, and it's safe to talk about what those challenges are. So instead of this pitch of invulnerability, we want you to open up. Talk about what your challenges are. Talk about the things you find hard to do, or the things that you think you might not know. And we'll tell you the things that you absolutely don't even know that you don't know. And we're here to make those connections, because when we share education and resources like that, that's how we're making authentic connections. We're run for the community, by the community. We're all volunteers. What we get out of it is experience, genuine connections, and help with our businesses. We're radically and intentionally inclusive. We like all kinds of people, from people at the whiteboard stage to brick and mortar folks to people that have tentpole companies that we're fortunate to have drop in here to give talks. Any kind of business, any kind of person, we're all welcome here. The only thing that's not welcome here is being unpleasant, unfriendly, and not helpful, right? So you might strongly disagree with someone who says something publicly here. There are times when it would be best to keep that to yourself. It's kind of like marriage that way. All right, so that's our program. We ask you to color inside the lines, but we hope you'll have a lot of fun when you do that. And it's easy to apply to present. Talk to any of the presenters, and we'll guide you through the somewhat cumbersome website and show you how to do that. And we'll coach you in how to give a 1 Million Cups talk. How do you know if you should be doing this? If you have a for-profit business, that is a business that sells goods or services for more than it costs to produce them. That's a for-profit business. And if you sold to someone besides your mom, you're eligible to speak at Million Cups. We prefer that your company is 5 years old or less. But if you're on the organizing team and your company's 7 years old and you put yourself on the schedule, what can they do? They're not going to come here from Kansas City and tell me to shut up, right? So we're pro-friendly that way. This is our newly expanded organizing team slide. I'm Paul Sauter. We have Lisa Atkins here. Eric Renz Whitmore, probably online. Adam Sparks Brechtel, right back there. Sonia doing, I'm guessing, online. And our newest, Keikoa and Oscar. And they're probably out working the community or making videos right now. All right, we also thank our sponsors, Fat Pipe, who's been our home for these 8 years. Jason Collin Photography, always making us look good. Hold it up, Jason, show them. More Than Organized. Organize your stuff, your thoughts, and get some creamer for your coffee. Foundation for Sustainable Living, providing the coffee that fuels this enterprise. Envive Solution, providing tea when they're here. And Noventum Custom Software, good software, good donuts, and sometimes home-baked goods, right? Is that today? Okay, go get the muffins, guys. All right, so thanks for joining us, and I'm going to hand it off to you.
Thank you. Just a second to change out slides. PowerPoint today. All right. Yeah, it is. Hold on a second, David. I'm going to introduce you. I want to make sure display settings are right. So that they see your notes. That would matter. I'm going to try not to touch the screen so that your slide advancement works. That is my goal. So I'm going to count on Sonia to. All right. I want to thank everyone for coming out on this snowy morning, especially our presenter today, David Augustyniak, who came from the East Mountains where there was a foot of snow. So let's give him a hand of applause. So this is going to be a fun presentation. David is a mycologist, did I say it right? Or also known as a mushroom farmer. So, and he's got a lot of stuff going on, and we're going to try to help him with some of his challenges. So take it over, David.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Million Cups. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I'm excited to try to wrap this out in 6 to 10 minutes for you. All right. So that's me, David Augustyniak. I was born right here, Presbyterian. Everyone knows Presbyterian, downtown Presbyterian, 1988. That's where I was founded, here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So everybody knows. Another really big milestone, 2010, December, I graduated from U.n.I School of Architecture and Planning. Got my bachelor's degree. Here you can see me and my beautiful family. Actually, my wife and I went to first grade together, started dating. We both grew up in the East, knew each other our whole lives. We started dating about 2013, had our first kid in 2015. And then here in 2019, this is when I started my business, the Art Farm Unincorporated. I also founded a second sole proprietor at the same time, but I began the U.n.I vision, is what I like to call it, right? Because we're all one, right? We're all one, and we all share this together. So it's kind of about me, father, husband, grandson, longtime New Mexico resident, graduated from School of Architecture. I hosted tons of mycology classes here in New Mexico, Colorado, president of New Mexico Mycological Society. I've been attending Telluride since 2014 with my family. They actually gave us an award in 2019, Telluride Mushroom Family. So we've gladly held that title for a few years. Essentially, I just plan to learn every single day and continue my vision, right? At the time, my interests were hiking, backpacking, fishing, learning, traveling, photography, art, architecture, food, sustainability. These were all things that were driving my force before I started my business, right? My past work. I can remember my dad telling me, when you were 10 years old, you'd go around the neighborhood knocking on people's doors and say, I'll mow your lawn for $10. Back then, $10 got me a week full of gas and candy for the whole month, right? So always had that entrepreneur spirit. My very first job, I think, was I worked at Frontier Restaurant. And then right after that, I became a framer when I was 17. Framer carpenter, worked with a bunch of builders, built $1 million homes. During college, I briefly worked at a therapeutic boarding school in the East Mountains called Via Santa Maria. And then I started my own handyman business called U.n.I. Versal. Then I became a home dad, and then I founded the art farm, right? So at the time, I had not very many qualifications. I had a bachelor's degree, YouTube University. We had the library, right? I love books, book collector, and then life experience. So then I decided to make the leap, and I founded the Art Farm Unincorporated. 2019, I seeded the U.n.I. vision, like I like to call it. Same time, I started a sole proprietor called U.n.I. Fungi. 2022, we started construction on our community citizen science community lab that's open to the public, and we plan to open in 2023. And then also last year, I started planning the Southwest Fungi Fest, and the first one will be hosted in northern New Mexico, July 27th through 30th. So stay tuned. Got lots of stuff. Right, and so the art farm is a beyond organic, permaculture, citizen science, mycology, soil biology, and art-focused community teaching and sharing farm. We source all our materials hyperlocal and have the highest possible standards for all ingredients that go into our production methods on the farm. We have the firm philosophy to upcycle as many different things and repurpose resources as many times as possible. We believe teaching and sharing with others in our community play a crucial role in our survival as a whole on the planet. Once we finish our lab, we hope to preserve and clone as many wild strains of fungi and create the largest genetic library in the Southwest. We're very grateful and humble for all the support we've received to this point, and we're thankful that you have a belief in the U.n.I. vision. So these are our interests here at the farm, right? We're doing mushroom cultivation, citizen science, fungal preservation, functional mushrooms, which a lot of you might think of medicinal mushrooms. So I like to call them functional. Culinary, mycophagy, we work with tons of local chefs. We do lots of local events. Education is my main focus and one of my passion projects, right? Education, educating the youth, educating the community. Seed saving in general, soil biology, soil health, that's the linchpin of our planet and how we are going to survive, right? So my goals as a business owner were to start a gourmet mushroom operation, start a community teaching farm, start a community laboratory, and organize a community festival. My vision is always going to be to think global, but act local, right? I think that's a very important thing. People often have these big dreams, but they're not starting right where it makes the most sense, right? So welcome to the U.n.I. vision. This is what I have to offer the community. How did I get here? Well, I founded my farm. I started scaling up. We went to downtown growers market in 2020. We started working with farm to table stores like Polk's Folly Farm, Tiny Grocers, and a couple other places. And then restaurants. Of course, in 2020, we started expanding to restaurants, but COVID hit and it kind of crashed the whole restaurant business, right? So luckily we were in the markets and we were able to stay afloat. But now, 2022 again, we're pairing with amazing people like 3128 Social House, Artichoke Cafe, a couple of restaurants in Taos. So in the beginning, right, I actually started growing in my house in a small room in my office, right? I had not much. Within a year, I was able to get a little bit of money, and we started construction on what I call the mushroom house, which is a couple 100 square foot outdoor greenhouse that I built from the ground up, and we started growing commercially in 2021. So next was the gray area, right? This was an old shed on my property. Luckily, I had a lot of building experience. I insulated it, put sheetrock, started construction in 2021. We opened in 2022, and hopefully it'll be open to the public in 2023. It is on my property and it is small, but I've learned more in that little tiny room in the last couple of years than I did in 34 years. And I hope to offer that same thing to the community. And then finally, here we are with the Southwest Fungi Fest. This is what I like to call 34 years in the making, right? This is an entire lifetime of the culmination of information that I want to bring to the forefront, to the community, not only of New Mexico, but the Southwest, right? I think the Southwest is an unappreciated region of the world. And so the idea is to give this platform to people in this region access to this education. So of course you can't do it by yourself, right? I thought I did for many, many years. That's one thing we all think, right? We can conquer the world by ourselves, but realistically, it takes a whole entire team, and it's taken years for me to build this team and to get comfortable enough with sharing my vision and finding a team that works. So for me, this is my friend Marvin. He came into my life many years ago, about 4 years ago, rest in peace, Marv, but he was the spark, right? Everybody has to have a spark, someone that believes in their vision and believes in it. Comes in and sees what they're doing, they're like, wow, you got it all up here, but we need to get it here, right? How can we do that? And so I was lucky to have Marvin. He came in and for no reason, self-sacrifice, wanted to help me be successful. And so he pushed me to just keep going. And I was like, I'm not ready, I'm not ready, I'm not ready. But I did it anyway, right? And so here I am, founder, owner, operator, and vision maker. I like to call myself the head wizard. Next is my partner, Tober Siegfried. She's co-founder, half owner of the art firm Unincorporated, operations manager, Mushroom Mage. Here we have my sister, David Augustyniak, super helpful, assistant director, administrations, pushing me a lot too, helping me get everything on paper and make it a real dream. Daniel's our farm accelerator. He came in and was like, hey, let me do some stuff with you. And I was like, all right, you can help me fix this and do this. And then he said, hey, I want to grow mushrooms. I said, all right, cool. Now he's on production, and hopefully we'll take production over. Julian's my media strategist, content wizard. Again, just another fan, came to the farmers market, part of the community. He said, man, you're doing some amazing things. The rest of the world needs to hear about this. We need to hear about what you're doing. Dude, I just don't have time for the social media. And he gave me a small little, offer. And I said, all right, why not? A couple $100 a month. I don't have it to pay you, but I'm going to do it anyway. And did it accelerate me? Did I get like a lot more notice? Did things start happening? Yeah. Sometimes you got to make that sacrifice, right? And then last is Mac. McCain Mason. Mac is what we call him on the farm. But Mac has tons of experience in microbiology, biology, has a master's degree, has been in and out of labs his entire life. I have lab experience a little bit. I could teach myself for the next 5 years how to run a lab and do that. Or I could pair with somebody who has the education and has all those strategies, and we can work together and we can create a team and we can exchange. And within a year or two, I can teach him what he knows and he can teach me what he knows, sharing lots of things and saving lots of time. So here we are, we're able to get a group picture after all these years. Amber wasn't there, but that's okay. She was working. Next, so this is kind of like my product roadmap, right? So we have like 3 focuses when we're trying to make profit on our farm, right? We got the gourmet mushrooms. We got the education, which is my part, believe it or not. You can get paid off of your passion if you structure it right. And then functional mushrooms, which I call medicinal mushrooms. This is like the huge bang, right? Everybody wants to capitalize on mushrooms, right? And everyone wants to capitalize on medicinal mushrooms right now. I see a lot of issues with that, but I'm not going to get into it today. So as far as the gourmet mushrooms, we've developed a strict protocol through the state of New Mexico with zoning and planning, and we created a one-of-a-kind HACCP to be able to offer dried products as a mushroom company. There's people out there that are doing dried products, but I can guarantee you almost that they're not doing it by the way they're supposed to be doing it. They're finding a loophole. So I've sat down, I wrote a HACCP for a year and a half with my sister. We put a lot of effort into making it and jumping through the hoops. We have some mycelial products that nobody else on the market. I've been in this industry for 10 years, pouring my passion into it. I have ideas, exclusive products nobody on the market is going to have. So as soon as we get the lab running, we get all our equipment, next level stuff. And then tons of aftermarket products, right? You can dry stuff, you can make almonds, you can make broths, you can make coffees, tons of stuff. Again, we have that access to make the dried products to do it the right way. Education. I've been leading cooking classes since 2022 in the community right down here in downtown. We have cultivation classes I've been teaching at the state fair since I think, this will be my 4th year this year. I've been working with Santa Fe Rail Yards. I actually paired with Access New Mexico and South Valley Economic Development Center to start teaching 2nd graders this year. I did a 5-week course working with the 2nd graders. teaching them all about my college. That was amazing, amazing opportunity for me. And then foraging, of course, I'm a forager. I've been foraging since 2014. I go down to the downtown market, I display all my mushrooms, I teach and I educate the community. I've been asked hundreds of times, when are you going to take this out in the world? It takes time, right? I'm finally getting around to it. And then the festival, right? The festival will generate income. It's not the intention of the festival, but hopefully I can, right? And then functional mushrooms. We're about to tap into some extracts in our labs there's only probably like 3 people in the country doing it. I just had a talk yesterday where I disclosed a bunch of really cool stuff we're going to be doing in the lab. Mycomedicines, I just mentioned that briefly, right? So many things happening in the medicinal industry right now for mushrooms. And then wild crafting. Again, I go out in nature, I craft wild things, work with chefs, tons of opportunity to make profit. So, that's okay. Boom. So I just wanted to show you guys some pictures of what we're doing. I talked about the cooking classes. Here's me leading our second cooking class. Really good, sold out. First one, not so much. It was during the week. It was probably my bad timing. Second class sold out. I've been asked nonstop, when was the next class? When's the next class? When's the next class? We're gonna do wild forage classes. We're gonna do edible classes. We're gonna do medicine making classes. Here's us building the mushroom house in 2020 in less than a year, right? We got lucky. I was lucky that somebody lent me $5,000. I could go buy this equipment and put it up. Was I ready? Absolutely not. Did I want to do it? No. Was I comfortable just growing in my house and not expanding? Yeah, but you got to have that spark and that push, right? You got to make that jump. Up here's another one of my educational classes that I do for the New Mexico Mycological Society. I've been involved with them heavily since 2015. Acted as the vice president and president, 2 years each one. Here's me doing DNA sequencing on my first set of mushrooms ever this year in Telluride with Alan Rockefeller, one of the leading DNA experts, citizen scientists in the entire world right now. I got to sit with him in my Airbnb private DNA class, and we're going to soon be splitting RNA, DNA, and all kinds of amazing stuff in the lab. Only place in the Southwest doing that I'm aware of. Somebody else, point me in the direction. Here's just some beautiful, iconic wild mushrooms. Here's a picture of our grow room in full action, right? This is a really special mushroom, an entopathogenic mushroom that targets bugs. It's called the cordyceps. I'm pretty sure I'm the only farmer in this region growing those mushrooms with the knowledge to grow those mushrooms. And not only that, those are albino cordyceps on top of that. So that's an even rarer thing that we're doing, right? Just want to put that out there. But there's problems and there is solutions, right? I'm not perfect. I am an entrepreneur. I do struggle. I have a family. I have no time, no money, no resources, right? So I'm making profit. I don't pay myself. I've been working for 3 years, not making a profit. Yeah, I make profit. My business makes profit, but do I pay myself to do all this work? No. It's like someone said, yeah, your business is worth nothing. So I own 100% of nothing right now. It's not a bad thing. I have a lot of things going on, but realistically, I own 100% of nothing. I am not good at organization. The lady last week, luckily, she's an organization wizard. So hopefully I can reach out to her, get some of this organization in my head. It's taken years and years of me to do that. Time management. I don't have enough time in the day, right? Like building the team has alleviated some of that stress and I'm able to delegate some of those things, but time. And then that goes to like resources. If I had $50,000 and I could pay my employees a living wage and give them insurance, I could make that money, right? Production was really, really hard for me. I was a one-man show for a really, really long time. I started expanding to markets and restaurants. And before you knew it, I created this giant market that nobody had created. I couldn't keep up with it. And all these other mushroom companies come in and filled in that position, which isn't bad. I still have a wonderful working relationship with a lot of these people. I just couldn't keep up with production, right? So somebody else that could and knew how to run a business with business ethics was able to create a system that they could sustain. So that came into my next thing. I have a lack of technical business experience, but I have vision, I have passion, I have drive, I have the desire to do these things. I just lack the technical business aspects, right? I didn't go to business school, I went to architecture school, which gives me a different set of skills. So these were my solutions to these problems. I'm not just going to bring problems to the table for you guys, right? There was solutions that I found within myself. They're not the ultimate solutions, but the inspiration, right? Sometimes we start running out of drive. So what did I do? I started going back out in nature. I suffered because I wasn't foraging and going out in nature like I was all the way as a kid. I don't know if you saw on the first slide, but there's me as a little kid fishing. I've been in nature my whole life. I started suffering because I was just working all the time. This year, I made it a part for me to go out. I prescribed myself once a week to go out in the forest and forage mushrooms to create that connection again. Best thing I could do for my mental health ever for somebody like me who needs that. And it's just office work, family. We're never making enough time, right? My mental health is really important to me. I started letting it suffer. I've been very spiritual my whole life, disconnected from those things. So what do? Whether I have time or not, every Wednesday I go over to my friend's house and we do Qigong and I just set my phone down, disconnect for the day. It's been great. Building a team, again, like I said, building that team and delegating, whether you're ready or not, sometimes you have to make that step. You have to build the team. You have to be in an uncomfortable zone before you can be in a comfortable zone, right? Being able to delegate that work has allowed me the time to do these other things, which is going to keep me alive. Right? Balance. Everybody knows balance is the key, right? I could work every single day until midnight if I wanted, and I could wake up at 6 and keep working until I get these things done. But everything around me is going to suffer. So I know that's not a good balance. But balance, right? And then family day. Family day, I delegated after a year and a half of owning my business, just watching my kids every day come to me and just like want to play. And they're like, oh, I'm frustrated and mad at them because they just want my attention. They're kids, they want to love their dad. But instead, I was so focused on working, I couldn't give them what they wanted. So I prescribed myself in the second year that every week, 1 day a week is family day. I don't work. I just don't. And sometimes, my wife's like, it's okay, you haven't worked on a Sunday in this many months, you can do it. And I'm like, no. It goes back on my own philosophy. If I'm willing to go back on my own philosophy, what else am I willing to do to try to make money or make it by, right? So that's been a struggle for me, right? It's like, I don't go back on what I say. I try to stick to the roots. So this is what I'm asking for from the community, right? As far as the Art Film Incorporated goes, I need organization, a non-digital resource. There's 100 digital resources. They don't work for someone like me. I carry around a notebook and I do a daily goal and I do daily strategies, and that's what works for me. If somebody else wants to manage doing it online, that's cool. But I need a non-digital resource. If there's like a script board or whatever, people tell me all these things. I need advice on time management from other entrepreneurs, business owners, professional project managers, or management, right? I need production resources. I'll always need production resources. I need capital to increase production, to pay full-time employees and meet the demands that I have. And grants. If anybody has resources on grants, grant writing, where to search for grants, send it my way. We're doing all that. As far as the gray area, any kind of collaboration, if you have a unique skill set, if you're like into biology, microbiology, soil science, any of that stuff, collaborate with us. We want more people in the community to provide this education. Any kind of donations, anything from glassware to stainless steel tables to anything that would run a scientific laboratory, petri dishes, needles, anything in the medical industry, any of that stuff we can use. Because right now that's my passion project. I'm paying out of pocket, right? I'm paying out of pocket to fund this project. Sponsors, any sponsorships from communities, businesses, organizations. And again, any nonprofits, any grants, any organizations that that can help us get this community lab running, send them my way, please. As far as Southwest Fungi Fest, we're always looking for collaborators. Again, we have a unique lineup that's like none other in this world. We could probably save the world at this festival. I'm not exaggerating. This is a really, really exciting thing. Donations, inputs, equipment, chairs, sound, any of that stuff that it takes to run. Again, I've created this budget. I've wrote every single one of these things. I've created every committee, every subcommittee, and it's hundreds of hours of work for free. So sponsors or any kind of marketing, like pre-marketing event, if you have a radio station, we're getting into Edgewood Chamber of Commerce, like we're doing lots of things. So again, here's our contact information. Sorry if I went over, there's a lot to throw in there, but if you have any questions, I really appreciate all of you for taking the time to come watch this and listen to what I have to say. No.
Feels vibrant. If you'd like to ask a question or make a comment, please form a line and introduce yourself. I'm gonna bring up the chat window so I can keep an eye on questions.
Anywhere.
Right next to him. I will both of you on camera. if possible.
What I do, I'm a woman who has done a lot of things, and my name is Eva Payne.
Right.
And so part of what I did was the phone company, so I retired from there. I did public health nursing for 25 years, or I would say 31. But what I'm trying to do is connect you with this huge network of people. They're in the East Mountains where I lived in the past, and where I have lots of people that want to learn about mushrooms, but they will give you, I call it sweat equity. I don't know if that's the right word, but they will help you. One of them is the source. I need you connected to the source because they're in Albuquerque, they're not in the East Mountains. And it sounds like part of your marketplace is in Albuquerque, if I heard you right.
Oh, yeah, huge.
And so what I do is connect people. I do it by email or phone, and I'm really busy, so I'm always in a hurry. I used to work in an ER, so I move fast. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hi, we've met.
We
I'm
met.
Paul Sauter, Chief Scientific Officer at Equiseek. We develop and sell genetic tests for horses. So I want to know what's going on in the gray area. What kind of projects are you planning?
Okay,
Citizen
so like
science lab.
specifically,
Scoot over to-
so specifically, for example, soil biology is really, really important to genetics and fungal preservation. So we have flora and fauna that protect our endangered ecosystems. In Chile, there's a lady named Juliana Furci. And so by mapping the fungal genome and preserving the fungal genetics, she's able to say, this is an endangered species of fungi, we need to protect this ecosystem, right? So I'm trying to do a whole bunch of fungal genome mapping in the state of New Mexico, something I've been doing for 10 years. We're going to make, like I said, some really cutting edge biotechnological mushroom medicines. Again, soil science, RNA, DNA testing, we're going to be offering to cannabis, cactus, and mushroom communities to actually break up the genetics and tell them what they're actually growing. Terpenes, mushroom terpenes, is a thing that nobody's talked about ever. And
Explain what that is.
so a terpene
He's
is,
the scientist nodded his head, but yeah.
tell them what, like a terpene is an aromatic compound, essentially, a volatile compound that you can smell in the air. And there's usually medicinal properties that are attached with that. It could be found in plants, a lot of it's found in cannabinoids. And they're creating this thing called the entourage effect. So they say that cannabis is like the bus, right? The engine that's constantly driving you. It'll constantly drive you, but with the entourage effect, you can use terpenes and cannabis. And the terpenes are like the roads that take you to the destination. Right? So the cannabis is going to drive you. You stack it with some terpenes, it's going to drive you over here, right? Maybe you want it for rest, maybe you want it for different things. And they've never really found these terpenes in mushrooms, and growing them and finding them in nature. My second thing is pick up a mushroom, look at it, and then smell it, right? And mushrooms put off some of the most volatile compounds out of any other organisms in the world, right? Some of these acids, some of these things. I mean, they're responsible for the flavor of umami, right? The acid that's in the shiitake. And so, you know, we're going to be isolating some of these terpenes, creating entourage effect medicines, mapping soil science. There's this R database, one of my teachers, Matt Powers. R database is academia thing where they use microscopes to map certain things. And he's essentially went and rewrote a lot of those protocols and given us a new way to approach it outside academia and citizen science at a very, very affordable scale, looking at the microscope instead of light at the bottom, light above, epifluorescent light. I mean, the list is just untapped. It's just unstoppable. Yeah. So we have some really good extracts too that we're going to be working on that are highly, highly concentrated compounds to just offer to you.
Well, good luck.
Thank you, Paul.
I'm going to take a question online and then I'll come back to the line here. Miriam, you next.
Time management.
Hey, I hit my mute button. Hello, I'm Miriam. I'm a professional organizer. And so we need to talk about your organization. But first question, do you have ADHD?
I probably have had ADHD untreated most of my life because bless my mom, we don't do like the medication thing. And she's always tried to keep me stimulated enough to, but I definitely probably have ADHD.
Okay, so there's just some tools and coping things that'll help get your focus on the time management so much more easily if you work with that instead of against it. But I'm wondering what you want a non-digital solution just for keeping track of your time and what you're supposed to be working on and when?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, it can also be digital, but I don't always get the digital reminders, and even when I do, they don't.
Yeah, no, I only use paper planners myself. So all of that is very solvable. And it's just about habit formation. So we can set up a time to talk if you want and schedule, how to figure out dumping all your ideas into one spot and then picking what you're going to focus on at each particular point to build up to the next idea you have.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Miriam. You're awesome.
Hey,
How are you?
I'm Dr. Norm. I'm Dr. Norm with drnormsconnections.com. And my business is dementia prevention. I mean, I have a connection to you, but you mentioned micromedicines. And I know there's been some changes in the cannabis laws and all that kind of stuff here. So when I was a young man, younger than you, the really popular mushroom was peyote, and now it's psilocybin. So with the laws changing in cannabis, is there an opportunity to a lot of profit with the micromedicines and the peyote and the psilocybins? Is that something that you've even thought about, or is that too much regulation, federal stuff?
No, I mean, there's grassroots organizations like the New Mexico Psychedelic and Science Society who will also be at the festival. She's actually doing a lot of policy change and policy reformation, but New Mexico's getting a different approach than a lot of the other people. Like Prop 21 was just passed in Denver, but Prop 21 allows a lot of larger business corporations to come in and profitize on what a lot of us consider a very sacred medicine. So the idea in New Mexico is we're giving it back to the hands of the indigenous people and the indigenous leaders in the state of New Mexico. And then they're able to delegate how they want to make this medicine accessible to the people. I personally don't have 100% of my passion in that, but I would say look towards that organization, the New Mexico Psychedelic and Science Society. And yeah, on the horizon, I have a huge business plan mapping about advising. What's the term when you consulting? Yeah, I have a consulting business in that aspect, because again, bureaucracy and having a family and nonprofit, it's just a lot of daunting paperwork I'm not ready for. But as far as a consultant and somebody wanted to make a for-profit business, and that I have amazing consulting efforts towards that.
Great. Well, I appreciate your knowledge. You seem like you really know what you're talking about. Good luck to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Norm. Have a beautiful day.
Mark, come on up.
Yeah,
How's it going?
Head wizard.
Hey, Mark, how are you?
Good, how are you? I'm a chief happiness officer, so I appreciate the cool alternative title, Photon Rainbow. I was gonna ask you, have you applied for any sort of like financial assistance, like on the personal side? Because depending on what the finances look like, you can get health insurance, childcare.
So like, as far as that, no, I've kind of been in, I won't say black market, but I haven't been, haven't done that.
Okay.
Type of stuff. Personally, I don't have credit. So it was a challenge for me, even though I've had my business for 3 years, and my business was like, oh yeah, we'll get you a line of credit, no problem.
Yeah.
I went down to the bank and they're like, oh, you got like zero personal credit. You paid for college, you paid for all your cars, you paid for your house, like, you don't owe anybody any money. So actually you're a horrible candidate. We're not even
Certain credit for like childcare,
Oh,
food
okay.
stamps, or
Oh, yeah.
like health
Yeah, we
insurance.
have some,
something.
we have some.
That's cool.
Yeah, we got like, I got.
Right. Do you have any connections? And if not, would it be helpful for people that do like cannabis grows and dispensaries?
Yeah, I mean, we're branching out to
Yeah.
that. I have a small network. I know some people that are pretty big in the cannabis industry, but I'm not opposed to anything ever.
It seems like it might be kind of the same like market.
Sure.
I don't know.
I'm actually going to be starting to work on a publication with, what's that cannabis magazine?
Highway,
I like.
highlight.
Maybe, yeah, one of them. Yeah. Possibly.
And then, I'll have to offer you, so we do like 3 or 4 events a year where we invite like our network and like our customers. And we sell sponsorships, but if you just want to give me like logo, a pitch and come to our event, we can get you some exposure that way. And then definitely I'd like to talk about like sponsoring the festival.
Cool.
Yeah, last question is, do you know what Pareto principle is? So he was an Italian economist and he noticed that 80% of his peas were coming from 20% of his crops. And then it turns out like it applies to a lot of things. So my question to you is, what 20% of your actions are yielding 80% of your results?
Yeah, when I have it in production.
There you go. Yeah. All right. Cool. Good on you, man.
So much,
Keep
man.
it up. You're great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi,
Hello.
I'm Barbara Dawson with Purple Mulch. And I was for years involved in the Master Gardeners. Have you touched that community at all?
So fortunately, like I said, I joined New Mexico Mycological Society a few years ago, and we became, when I was vice president, we actually transitioned from the Natural History Museum into the Master Gardener Albuquerque Garden Center
Okay.
Consortium. So now we're a big part of that.
Okay,
I'm
good.
really good friends with Jan Vanderkamp.
Okay, great.
So she's the last president. So I've kind of looped into it. I know I used to run it and the presidents. I actually do stuff for Master Gardeners for the state fair for the last 4 years. So if you were at the state fair this year with Master Gardener,
I was not.
I did 2 demos.
Oh, good. Well, I'm just thinking that could be a whole group of volunteers that would love to come out.
And so again, it's like, the time management, it's like getting where I need to be and tapping into a lot of these markets that I have. Again, like I said, I created a very vast network in the beginning before I started. And so, just slowly but surely, the more help I get, the more I'll be able to start
Well,
reaching these.
I'm in Corrales, and so I took the Sandoval County Master Gardeners program. I know we were at a school, we go out, we do training, we do education, we do all this that could take some of that off your plate. That's maybe not producing a lot of money,
Right.
but to still get the word out and get the advertising back to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello.
Dr. Jessica Troy.
Hello.
One quick comment before I ask my actual question. A couple years apart, but we share the same birthday. So both August 4th babies. Much belated, early. So one kind of random question as well. You watch The Last of Us, and how do you feel about fungi being
Yeah,
presented
I
as
did.
the evildoer?
Okay, so I hadn't watched it yet, but my best friend, who's a nuclear pharmacist, called me up. He said, I watched this show. And he started describing it to me. I'm like, okay, hold on. First of all, that's definitely 1, inaccurate, and 2, super, super microphobic, right? I think, personally, I think, yeah, it's creating and bringing a lot of attention to the mycological world. But if you're gonna do that at the same time, don't feed misinformation is my thing. Like that cordyceps mushroom is an entopathogenic fungi, meaning it can only target insects, right? It cannot take over and host our system. Now there is airborne spores that are toxic, I think of 1 species of mushrooms. But Meldon Sheldrick said there's something like 6,000 tons of spores of mushrooms in the air every year that you're breathing in. So to think that, mushrooms are going to take us over and eat us is a silly idea. Is it impossible? No, there's probably yeah, they usually wait till they're dead to decompose us and eat us up and stuff. And a funny thing is we have mushroom micro, we have our mycobiome, but we have a mycobiome inside our microbiome that's full of all kinds of fungi, foods, medicines, beer, bread, cheese, all those come from fungi. And I've been eating them my whole life. And maybe I'm a mushroom.
And one actual question. So I know you said you don't like the social media aspect, you don't have time for it, so you have a guy doing it. Would you consider educating the public through a blog? And how I got started on this, that, you know, because
Sure. Yeah, that's,
not a mushroom fan.
yeah.
But from watching cooking shows, I know how prevalent they are in lots of different fun dishes. But I would say from someone like me, I don't know what the heck any of it is that you're talking about most of the time. I got a PhD in medieval studies, so I'm not a scientist, don't like science, any of that stuff. So I think from a basic perspective and a non-mycologist perspective, how you got started, where this is going, how it can benefit people like me who don't know anything about it. And then, you know, as the blog gets older, you can get into more specific stuff that would entertain others, like who are, you know, part of your group. So I would just say, if you've never considered it, maybe write a blog or some other kind of informative area on a website that could.
Yeah, so we were gonna do Patreon, but my web guy said he could embed all the education and give like a tier system and stuff. So yeah, I mean, it's.
Or even like a YouTube.
YouTube, we have again, it's just like getting all the content, organizing the content, and then having the people set up the structure of how to deliver that content. But other than that, you know, a great way to get involved is New Mexico Mycological Society. It's $20 a year per person. They have 10 in-person meetings between Santa Fe and Albuquerque. Really accessible information. But of course, you know, I would love to be the face that's like sharing it. So yeah, working on it. Thank you so much. Hello.
I'm Gail Rubin,
Thanks, Gail.
the doyen of death. Check out the spells. Yes, I'm a death educator. And number one, surely you've heard of the mushroom burial suit. Maybe you could get into the death decomposition business with something different than the mushroom burial suit. But I wanted to give you some feedback and some thoughts and a question. So you said you wanted to get grants. You got to have a nonprofit to get grants. Oh man, so I don't know if you want to think about starting a nonprofit arm of your various enterprises.
We tried bureaucracy, and then the guy who was doing it was like, I'm going to be doing paperwork half of the year to get this thing running for free, Dave. And I was like, yeah, we don't have to do that. And so Access actually offered to receive money for me and give it to me.
So in order to get money and not be a nonprofit, sponsorships. I also do a festival called the Before I Die New Mexico Festival. And you need to be able to understand and communicate who are the demographics of the people that want to know what you know and would want to attend this festival. Can you tell me what that demographic is?
Yeah, I mean, the demographic is, it's not specific. It's anybody who wants access to this education. There's only going to be about 300 tickets sold because we're also doing a community kitchen where food is involved. It's a huge part of the festival, but really anybody searching soil science, microscopy, we have some of the world leaders in DNA and RNA sequencing coming, Alan Rockefeller, William P. Brown, Matt Powers. Anybody interested in saving the world. It's not a musical event. There will be entertainment in the evening for part of it. And of course, the most important part is called the Spore Source, which is a children's camp within the camp where we're going to be teaching children to foray, interact with nature, fishing, they'll be cooking their own food. So anybody interested in learning about food, mushrooms, saving the planet, soil ecology.
So take that. And don't say anybody, because if it's anybody, it's not anybody that a sponsor is going to want to support you for. So is it parents with their kids? Are they millennials? Are they baby boomers? Are they Gen Xers? You know, what generation are we looking at? What kind of psychographics is the word, actually? Look that up sometime. Psychographics. As well as demographics. And I want to bring up The Last of Us again, because before I became a death educator, I was a PR professional and generating news coverage. And this Last of Us, and you being a mushroom guy, is an awesome PR opportunity for you to get out there and tell what you just said about it's all PS when it comes to mushrooms killing us all. But it's an opportunity for people to say, who was that guy? And find out more about you and go to your website. And I agree with building your blog with informational material or videos. Come on, videos are the place to be. You could do a 3-minute video about, one particular mushroom and whatnot. So that is my questions and advice for you. Congratulations and good luck.
Thanks, Neil.
Hey, Koa, we'll make you oh, yeah, hey, Koa.
Oh.
We'll do yours last and then we'll bring you to a head. Come on up.
Oh, I'm up. I wasn't sure
Yeah.
if there's somebody online.
No, we're good.
All right, I'm Keikoa. I own a company called, with me and my partner, we own a company called Legacy Family Documentaries. And something that we just went into, especially with like fields like yours, where sometimes it's just hard to get that educational connection without having to pretty much express it through video or getting that audience, it's like people hear this, but they might not understand like what this is you do. So kind of with my marketing background and my documentary background, I think that would be like a nice catalyst. If you are going to be doing like your blogs, your YouTube, that type of stuff, to be able to do it in like a most like extremely efficient way, in a way that can help you spread your word, but you not have to like kill yourselves trying to make crazy, oh, look how cool this mushroom looks. But hey, let me give you the education on what this mushroom does. So if you need any like assistance with that, or kind of like some of the steps that we take, I'll give you my card. Yeah, that's all I have, brother. It's beautiful, man.
Smart.
Oh,
Like,
nice.
yeah, this was impressive. I learned a lot more about mushrooms than I ever thought I wanted to know. And I actually love mushrooms. I love to eat them and I love to take them in the medicinal sort of way. So I'd love to talk to you more about that as well. I think it's a fascinating medicinal purpose to treat lots of different things. And I have a group of friends who have been researching it. So maybe we ought to pull you into that. It's really cool. I actually have a doctor friend who's treating depression with microdosing.
That's a huge wave right now.
Yeah.
Especially in psychotherapy with the massive doses. They're actually, I have friends who are in psychotherapy and electric shock and done everything for people who suffer from extreme depression for 20 years. They've been their patient. They do this protocol one time and they're like, yeah, I don't believe in a silver bullet, but I have been in psychotherapy for 30 years and nothing has done anything for this person that I've been treating for 20. I've tried every modality of therapy. One time.
Yeah. So 2 last questions, red or green?
Oh, I'm a Christmas all the way.
And can you give us just one thing that this community together here today can walk away with, something that we can do to help you? You have a lot in your slides, but give us one thing that we collectively can do to help you.
I would just say again, think global, act local, pair with your community. If it's me, if it's the person sitting next to you, if it's your neighbor, bring them some food, be community together. We're always better together and we will always be better together.
Great job. So if you've never been here before, please come up. We'd love you to introduce yourself. And if we have anybody online, I think David has some friends today. We'd also love to hear from you. Come on up. We're playing right over here. Mark's our new tenant at Bathpipe, and hopefully he'll be our presenter next week. So.
That's my, I don't know if you call it a booth or an office. What?
Private suite? It's a private suite. Honestly.
Right there, first door floating. So just how much time do I get?
Just give us a minute. Tell us,
All right, cool.
Tell us who you are.
All right. I'm Mark Kelly, born and raised Albuquerque, 4th generation Albuquerque. I do solar, residential solar. My company is called Photon Rainbow. I have an alternative title. He's head wizard. I'm chief happiness officer. I don't know if you guys know that book, The Secret. I didn't even read it, but I was putting my energy out there to find something because I was working 3 part-time jobs baby on the way, wanted to do something more meaningful for myself in my career. And so I wanted to do something that I'm passionate about the environment. So I wanted to do something that gets me outside, teaches other people to have a relationship with the environment, because it breaks my heart. People have never been fishing, camping, hiking, all that stuff. Or that was actually environmental conservation. And one of my jobs was building apps. And I got to a networking event, and I met a couple guys that were working for a national solar company. Introduced myself. I never thought, wow, solar. I mean, the amount of carbon dioxide you offset from putting solar on your home or business is just staggering. It's like the same as planting hundreds of trees. So 3 days later, I'm out knocking doors. You know, I didn't know any better. They didn't tell me it was knocking doors. And then I knocked for 5 different national companies. And then I got hired as a regional sales manager for a local company. And then I broke off and I did like a broker model where if you wanted solar, I would shop a contractor for you. That wasn't going very well because the customer wasn't mine, it was someone else's. And so I cut someone in 30% of my business, and we became an electrical contractor. And now we do it the right way. We have an educational approach. We actually give people the right information instead of just trying to get them to sign up no matter what. We're what's called the Pearl contractor. So if you get solar with us, it's a third-party certification that gives an appraiser the information they need to add value to your home. If you get solar, we use the highest equipment available on the market, and our prices are like 25% lower than everyone else in town. So
Fantastic.
that's what we do. Thanks.
Awesome.
Hello, everyone. My name is Michael. I am 26. I'm a UX designer. That's what I studied, at least. I do social media content, mostly on TikTok, actually, which does have a huge mushroom community, by the way. Definitely something worth looking into. I am a fashion designer. I designed this hoodie myself, and I'm actually designing professional performance wear for musicians. And yeah, I just moved to New Mexico about a week ago. I was born here, but I moved back here on my way back to LA. So yeah, that
How
is
did you
me.
hear about 1 Million Cups?
A coworker told me about it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, welcome home.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're glad you're here.
The doyen of deaf. I am a deaf educator, and I do YouTube videos, and I have my blog, and I do a TV series out of the cable access studio here downtown. That's a great resource. If you want to make your own TV program, I highly recommend you check into it. I've been in New Mexico for 32 years, and I will be buried here. I'm also the president of Historic Fairview Cemetery, a nonprofit organization in charge of that old cemetery on Yale that you look through the gates and you see tumbleweeds and dirt and headstones. But we're working to maintain the grounds and share the history, because there are a lot of incredible people who are buried there. So that's one of the other many things I do, as well as holding the Before I Die New Mexico Festival. It'll be my 6th annual festival this October 16th through the 21st, right after Balloon Fiesta. And it's an opportunity to talk about planning ahead for end-of-life issues without getting scared about the topic of death.
Thank you so much.
We put the fun in funeral planning.
All right.
Hi, I'm Amber Augustyniak. I work with Back High Peace Mountains, and I also work with David. So it was cool. This is my first time being here. I've been online, and I would really like to connect with the lady who said she could teach us some coping mechanisms to organize the ADHD. Miriam.
Put your contact info in chat. She has it.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, glad to be here.
Never been here. Can you raise your hand, unmute? I'd love for you to introduce yourself. Oh. 10.
It's 10. We're out of town, so I'm not going to take a lot of time. You can see there's all kinds of people benefiting from being here. all kinds of people who want to talk to you and learn from you. Engage them. See you next week.
Thank you. Where did she go? Amber. Thank you for meeting me to talk about bookkeeping stuff. That was amazing. Dr. Norm and Barbara, thank you for hooking me up with other people in the community. Jason, thank you for your info, and we're gonna get together and start working on photography stuff. I've talked to several of you. Marty, thank you. This was so fantastic to present and to get out there and to get the actual help we need for these businesses. So thank you all so much. We don't have a presenter just yet, but I'm gonna reel in Mark and see if we can get him online, and then we have a couple weeks after that totally filled and ready to go. See you guys next week.